The first time I saw Marcus, I thought he was going to break. Seriously, the human came walking into my maintenance bay on Station Epsilon 9 with this ridiculous grin on his face, all skinny limbs and soft flesh, looking like a stiff breeze could snap him in half. I am Vec, maintenance supervisor for the Galactic Trade Hub, and in my 40 cycles of service, I have seen every species the galaxy has to offer. Humans, they were new, fresh, barely 3 solar rotations since first contact, and already they were sending their people out on diplomatic exchanges like they belonged here. The audacity was almost charming if it was not so laughable. I looked at Marcus, then at my crew, then back at Marcus, and I could not help but wonder what kind of cosmic joke had been played on us. This fragile thing was supposed to help with maintenance? On a station where cargo shuttles weighed hundreds of tons and equipment failures could mean explosive decompression? Please. I had krill workers who could bench press a small transport vehicle. I had Threx engineers whose exoskeletons could withstand direct plasma burns. And now I had, what, a human? A species from a single G world. No natural armor, no redundant organs, nothing. The medical scans we had received from Earth were honestly depressing. Bone density, pathetic. Muscle fiber composition, weak. Regeneration capabilities, laughable. They did not even have a proper carapace. Marcus stood there in his standard-issue station jumpsuit, looking around the bay with wide eyes like some tourist at a gift shop. My second-in-command, Chitter, skittered over on her 6 legs, mandibles clicking in what I recognized as barely suppressed amusement. She was Threx, all chitinous plating and compound eyes, and she towered over the human by at least 2 feet. Vec, she buzzed, her voice translator rendering her speech into galactic standard. Is this the human, the one from the exchange program? I nodded, trying not to sigh too loudly. Unfortunately, yes. Command says we have to integrate him into the crew, show him how real maintenance work gets done. Chitter's antennae twitched, which meant she was trying not to laugh. What can he even do? He looks like he would struggle to carry a toolbox. She was not wrong. I pulled up Marcus's file on my datapad, scrolling through the information Earth had provided. Engineer, they said. Specialized in mechanical systems, they said. Top of his class at some institution called, let me see, MIT. Great, wonderful. I was sure his fancy Earth education would really help when he needed to haul a 50-kilo wrench or survive a radiation leak. Marcus, I called out, waving him over. He actually jogged across the bay floor, and I watched his bipedal gait with professional skepticism. 2 legs, just 2. No tail for balance, no secondary limbs for stability. Evolution had really done this species dirty. He stopped in front of me, slightly out of breath, which was just sad considering he had run maybe 20 meters. Yes, sir, he said, and his voice had this weird, enthusiastic quality that made my head-tails itch. Welcome to Bay 7, I said, trying to sound official and not condescending. I am Vec, your supervisor. This is Chitter, my second. You will be working with us on shuttle maintenance and repair. Marcus nodded eagerly, like this was the best news he had heard all cycle. Great. I am really excited to learn how you all do things out here. Earth technology is so different from, well, everything I have seen so far. Chitter leaned in close, her mandibles nearly touching his face. Tell me, human, how much can you lift back on your homeworld? Marcus blinked, clearly uncomfortable with a giant insect in his personal space, but to his credit, he did not back away. I hit the gym pretty regularly. I can deadlift about, converting to your measurements, maybe 120 kilos? The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of the station's life support systems. Then Plex, one of my null-form technicians, literally started vibrating with laughter. Nullforms do not have solid bodies. They are mostly gaseous, so when they laugh, they just kind of oscillate in their containment suits. It looks ridiculous and sounds like a broken atmospheric processor. 120 kilos, Plex wheezed through their translator. Gorma can lift 800 kilos without breaking a sweat, and he is not even the strongest krill on station. Marcus's face did this thing where it changed color, turning slightly red. I would later learn this was called blushing, a bizarre physiological response to embarrassment. "Well," he said slowly, "I am sure Gorma is very strong. Different species, different adaptations, right?" He was trying to be diplomatic, I could tell, but the damage was done. The crew had already written him off as dead weight. I assigned Marcus to inventory duty, because what else was I going to do with him? Let him near the plasma couplings? Let him attempt to realign a thruster array? No. He could count parts and log serial numbers, nice safe work that would not result in him accidentally killing himself, or, worse, damaging expensive equipment. He took the assignment without complaint, which I grudgingly respected, and spent the next few hours wandering the storage sections with a datapad, cataloging everything we had. Meanwhile, the rest of us got to work on the real job, prepping Shuttle K-14 for its scheduled maintenance overhaul. K-14 was a beast of a ship, a heavy cargo hauler that ran the Epsilon route twice a week. Standard procedure: drain the fuel cells, check the hull integrity, recalibrate the navigation systems, and inspect the landing gear. Routine stuff. Except the universe has a funny way of making routine stuff complicated. We were 4 hours into the job when Chitter called out from beneath the shuttle. "Vec, we have got a problem." I dropped what I was doing and scrambled over. Chitter was pointing at the main boarding ramp, the massive hydraulic platform that lowered to allow cargo loading, except it was not lowering. It was stuck at a 45-degree angle, frozen in place, and the hydraulic fluid was leaking all over the deck. "Fantastic," I muttered, pulling out my scanner. The readout confirmed my worst fears. Total hydraulic failure. The pressure lines had ruptured, probably due to metal fatigue, and the backup system had failed to engage, which meant the ramp, all 4 tons of it, was now stuck in position, blocking access to the undercarriage where we needed to work. "Can we bypass it?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Chitter shook her head, antennae drooping. "Negative. The access panels are directly behind the ramp. We need to lift it manually to get to the hydraulics and make repairs." Manually, right. That meant getting the krill team together, all 6 of them working in concert to lift the ramp high enough for someone to slide underneath and fix the broken system. There was just one tiny problem. "Where is Gorma?" I asked, looking around the bay. "Where is the entire krill crew?" Plex floated over, their containment suit bobbing in the air. "Emergency call, remember? They got pulled to Bay 12 about an hour ago. Some idiot crashed a transport into the docking clamps. They will be tied up for at least 6 more hours." 6 hours. I had 2 hours before Station Commander Tarna started asking questions about why K-14 was not ready for its next flight. 2 hours before my performance review took a nosedive. 2 hours before I became the laughingstock of the entire maintenance division. I stood there, staring at that stupid ramp, watching hydraulic fluid drip onto the deck, and I seriously considered just walking away, retiring early, moving to some quiet moon somewhere and raising fungal crops. Anything would be better than this. "What are our options?" Chitter asked, and I could hear the worry in her translated voice. She knew what was at stake, too. "Anti-grav units," I suggested, grasping at straws. "All checked out to Bay 18, Plex said. "Pulley system. Would take 3 hours to rig properly, and we do not have the anchors installed in this bay." "Magic?" "Not in the budget." I was about to calm Tarna and beg for an extension when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and there was Marcus, datapad in hand, looking at the stuck ramp with genuine curiosity. "Problem?" he asked, because apparently humans also have a gift for stating the obvious. "Massive problem," I said. "The ramp is stuck. We cannot access the repair site, and our heavy lift crew is not available. Unless you have some brilliant Earth solution, we are completely screwed." I meant it sarcastically, obviously. What could a human possibly offer in this situation? But Marcus did not leave. Instead, he walked closer, studying the ramp from multiple angles, his eyes doing these quick little movements like he was calculating something. "How much does it weigh?" he asked. 4.2 tons, Chitter said. "Why?" Marcus nodded slowly, like that number made perfect sense to him. Then he did something that made my head-tails stand straight up in alarm. He smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a polite smile, but a smile that said he had just had the worst idea in the history of terrible ideas, and he was going to do it anyway. "I think I can help," he said, and that, as the humans say, is when things got interesting. The laughter started immediately. Plex vibrated so hard their containment suit nearly cracked. Chitter's mandibles clicked in a rapid staccato that was definitely amusement, not concern. Even the maintenance drones seemed to beep mockingly. I just stared at Marcus, trying to figure out if he was joking or if the station's life support had leaked something hallucinogenic into the human quarters. "You," I said slowly, "think you can help? With a 4-ton ramp. You, the human who can barely lift 120 kilos. Marcus shrugged, like I had just asked him about the weather instead of questioning his sanity. "I mean, yeah. I would like to try, at least. What have you got to lose?" What did I have to lose? My job, my reputation, possibly Marcus's life when the ramp crushed him into a organic paste. But he had a point. Sort of. We were out of options, out of time, and out of luck. Tarna was going to calm me any minute demanding status updates, and I would have to explain why a simple maintenance job had turned into a complete disaster. At least if Marcus tried and failed, I could blame it on inadequate human training or something. "This is insane," Chitter buzzed, her antenna waving in agitation. "Vec, you cannot seriously be considering this. Look at him. He has no exoskeleton, no reinforced musculature, no hydraulic assist joints. He is basically held together with hope and skin." She was right, of course. I pulled up the human biological data again, scanning through the depressing statistics. Average muscle density, 40% lower than krill. Bone tensile strength, 60% weaker than Threx. Pain tolerance. Do not even get me started. Humans felt pain from things that would not even register. To most species, they were fragile, limited, evolutionary jokes from a backwater planet that barely qualified as civilized. And yet, Marcus stood there, calm and patient, waiting for my decision like he had all the time in the world. "Explain," I said finally. "Explain how you think this is even remotely possible." Marcus set down his datapad and cracked his knuckles, which made this horrible popping sound that made Chitter recoil in disgust. "Okay, so here is the thing about humans. We are not the strongest species, obviously. We are not the fastest, not the most durable, not the best at pretty much anything specific. But we are really, really good at one thing: not giving up." Plex snorted, which sounded like air escaping a faulty valve. "Persistence is not going to lift a 4-ton ramp, human." Marcus grinned, and there was something almost predatory about it. "You would be surprised. See, back on Earth, we evolved as persistence hunters. We did not catch prey by being faster or stronger. We caught prey by chasing it until it literally died from exhaustion. We have got this thing called an adrenaline response, a chemical dump that temporarily supercharges our muscles when we are in danger or under extreme stress. Plus, our muscle fibers are designed for endurance and explosive power. We are not built like your heavy worlders, but we are built to push past our limits when we need to. I exchanged glances with Chitter. She looked as skeptical as I felt. Adrenaline, I repeated, a chemical response. You are basing this on a hormonal reaction? Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. There are documented cases on Earth of humans lifting cars off trapped people, breaking through doors, surviving falls that should have killed them, all because of adrenaline. Our bodies have this emergency override system. It is not something we can always control, but when it kicks in, we can do things that should be impossible. This was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard, and I once watched a nullform try to eat solid food. Your planet, Chitter said slowly, has 1g gravity, correct? That is considered low by galactic standards. You are telling us that you evolved on what we would classify as a vacation world, and somehow you think that makes you strong? Marcus's expression shifted, and for the first time, I saw something that was not friendly enthusiasm. It was annoyance, maybe even a little anger. Earth is not a vacation world. Earth has predators that would terrify most of your species. Earth has weather systems that can level entire cities. Earth has diseases, parasites, natural disasters, and about 1 million other things trying to kill us every single day. We did not evolve to be comfortable. We evolved to survive. The bay went quiet. Even the background hum of the station seemed to fade. Marcus took a step toward the ramp, rolling his shoulders like he was preparing for something. Look, he said, I get it. You think I am weak. You think humans are soft. Maybe we are compared to you. But I am standing here offering to help, and you are running out of time. So either let me try or keep standing around making jokes while your deadline gets closer. I checked my chrono. 90 minutes left. Tarna would be calling soon, probably already composing her angry message about incompetent supervisors and failed schedules. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him, trying to see past the soft exterior to whatever had brought him out here to the edges of known space. He was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, and honestly, I could not tell which. Fine, I said, and I could not believe the word was coming out of my mouth. You get one shot, one. If this does not work, you back off and let us figure out another solution. Agreed. Marcus grinned again, wider this time. Agreed. Marcus walked over to the stuck ramp like he was approaching an old friend instead of 4 tons of potentially lethal metal. He peeled off his station jumpsuit jacket, tossing it aside, and I got my first real look at human musculature. It was different from what I expected. Not the bulky, obvious strength of the krill or the segmented power of the Threx. His muscles were compact, layered, visible beneath his skin in a way that seemed almost vulnerable. Chitter leaned close to me, mandibles barely moving. "This is going to be a disaster," she whispered. I did not disagree, but something kept me from stopping him. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was desperation, or maybe I just wanted to see what would happen when confidence met reality at high speed. Marcus started doing these strange movements, bending and twisting his body in ways that looked completely unnecessary. "What is he doing?" Plex asked, their gaseous form rippling with confusion. "Stretching," Marcus called out, apparently having heard the question. "Warming up the muscles, increasing blood flow, preparing the tendons. You do not just jump into a heavy lift cold. That is how you tear something important." More laughter from the crew. Warming up? For what? Embarrassing himself? A couple of maintenance techs from neighboring bays had noticed the commotion and wandered over, increasing our audience to about 15 beings of various species. Word was spreading fast. The human was about to attempt something monumentally stupid, and nobody wanted to miss it. Marcus finished his stretching routine and moved into position beneath the ramp. He studied the angle, adjusted his feet, placed his hands flat against the underside of the metal surface. Then he started explaining his technique, which only made things funnier to everyone watching. "Okay, so the key is leg drive," he said, his voice taking on this educational tone, like he was teaching a class. "You want the power coming from your quads and glutes, not your back. Keep the core tight, spine neutral, breathe out on the exertion." It is basic biomechanics, really. Chitter was clicking so hard, I thought her mandibles might crack. Biomechanics! He is giving us a lecture on biomechanics before he fails to lift a ramp. This is beautiful. Even I cracked a smile. There was something endearing about his confidence, misplaced as it was. He was about to learn a very harsh lesson about the difference between theory and practice, between Earth standards and galactic reality. "Whenever you are ready, human," I said, pulling out my datapad to record this. Not for evidence, of course, just for personal entertainment later. Maybe I would show it at the next station social gathering. Marcus took a deep breath, and I mean a really deep breath, his chest expanding like he was trying to inhale the entire bay's atmosphere. His hands pressed firmer against the ramp. His legs tensed, muscles becoming visible cords beneath his skin. The smile disappeared from his face, replaced by intense concentration. Then he pushed. At first, nothing happened. Obviously, 4 tons of metal does not move just because some optimistic human decides it should. The crew started chuckling again, preparing their best told-you-so comments. But then I noticed something. The ramp shuddered, just slightly, barely perceptible, but it moved. The laughter stopped. Marcus's face was turning red, veins standing out on his neck, and arms like cables under pressure. His entire body was shaking with effort, every muscle fiber apparently firing at once. And the ramp, impossibly incredibly, was lifting. "No way," Chitter breathed, her antennae going completely straight in shock. "There is no way." But there was a way, because it was happening right in front of us. Centimeter by centimeter, the massive boarding ramp was rising. Marcus's legs were trembling, his arms locked in place, and this sound was coming from him, this guttural growl of pure effort that did not sound entirely human. I checked my scanner, running diagnostics on the ramp weight, confirming what my eyes were telling me. 4.2 tons. Actually moving, actually lifting. The bay had gone completely silent except for the grinding of metal and Marcus's labored breathing. He adjusted his grip, shifted his stance, and pushed harder. The ramp continued its upward trajectory, reaching 15 degrees, then 20, then 30. Sweat was pouring down his face. His whole body looked like it might vibrate apart, but he was not stopping. "By the void," Plex whispered, their form completely still for the first time since I had met them. "He is actually doing it." Marcus's arms were shaking so badly I thought they might snap, but somehow they held. His face had gone from red to an alarming purple color, and I started to worry about his cardiovascular system overloading. But then the ramp hit 45 degrees, then 60, and suddenly it was vertical, fully raised, held aloft by nothing but human muscle and apparently sheer, stubborn refusal to accept reality. "Fix it!" Marcus shouted, his voice strained and raw. "Fix the hydraulics now! I cannot hold this forever!" The command snapped me out of my shocked stupor. I grabbed my tools and dove underneath the ramp, Chitter right behind me. My hands were actually shaking as I worked, trying to focus on the repair while acutely aware that a single fragile human, was holding up 4 tons of metal above us. I could see his legs through the gap, see them trembling with the strain, see his feet planted so firmly they seemed fused to the deck. The hydraulic coupling was easy to access now, thankfully, and I worked faster than I ever had in my entire career. Chitter handed me components without being asked, both of us moving in perfect synchronization, born from years of working together and current absolute terror. 90 seconds. That was all it took to bypass the damaged pressure line and engage the backup system. 90 seconds that felt like 90 hours. "Done!" I yelled, scrambling out from under the ramp. "We are clear." Marcus did not just let go. That would have been stupid, would have sent the ramp crashing down and possibly damaged the repairs we just made. Instead, he lowered it slowly, with the same control he had used to lift it, guiding it down until it settled into its proper locked position with a solid metallic thunk. Then, and only then, did Marcus step back. His legs gave out immediately and he collapsed onto the deck, chest heaving, gasping for air like he had just sprinted a marathon. His whole body was soaked with sweat, his muscles twitching with exhaustion, but he was smiling. Actually, smiling. The chaos started immediately. Chitter rushed over with a medical scanner, running diagnostics on Marcus while he lay there on the deck, still grinning like an idiot. Plex floated frantically, calling for water and electrolyte supplements. Half the crew surrounded him, checking for injuries, offering assistance, looking utterly baffled by what they had just witnessed. I stood frozen, my datapad still in my hand, staring at the readout that confirmed everything. 4.2 tons, lifted by a human, a single human. My brain was trying to process this information and failing spectacularly. I ran the calculation 3 times, checked the ramp specifications twice, even wondered if someone had secretly replaced the ramp with a lightweight replica as some kind of elaborate prank. But no, the math was solid, the evidence was undeniable. Marcus had just done something that should have been completely impossible. "Are you injured?" Chitter asked, her mandibles clicking with concern instead of amusement now. Marcus shook his head, still breathing hard. "Just tired, really, really tired. Maybe a little sore. Can someone get me some water?" 3 people scrambled to fulfill that request. I finally moved, walking over slowly, still half convinced I was experiencing some kind of station-wide hallucination. "How?" I asked, and my voice sounded strange even to my own auditory receptors. "How did you do that?" Marcus accepted a water container from one of the techs and drank deeply before answering. "I told you, adrenaline, muscle fiber density, evolutionary adaptation. Humans can push past normal limits when we need to. It hurts like hell, and I am going to feel this for a week, but it is possible. We are built for it." Built for it. This scrawny species from a 1G world was built for lifting 4-ton objects. I had been doing this job for 40 cycles, and I thought I understood physical limitations. Apparently, I understood nothing. Within an hour, the station security footage had been copied, shared, and distributed across half the Galactic network. My comm unit would not stop buzzing with messages. Xenobiologists wanted tissue samples. Military officials wanted strength assessments. 3 different research facilities wanted to study human physiology. Someone from the Galactic Sports Federation asked if Marcus was interested in competitive lifting. It was complete madness. Commander Tarna actually calmed me personally, which never happened unless something was seriously wrong. Her face appeared on my screen, her crest feathers fully extended in what I recognized as extreme surprise. "Vec," she said slowly, "I just watched your maintenance bay footage. Please tell me that was somehow edited or faked." I shook my head. "Completely genuine, Commander. I watched it happen myself. Still not entirely sure I believe it." Tarna was quiet for a moment. "The human, Marcus. Is he available for other assignments? Because I suddenly have about 50 department heads who want humans on their teams." I looked over at Marcus, who was sitting on a cargo container, still catching his breath, surrounded by crew members asking him questions about Earth and human capabilities. He looked exhausted but happy, finally being treated like he belonged instead of like a liability. "He is assigned to my crew, Commander," I said, surprising myself with the possessive tone, "but I will make sure he gets proper recognition for this." After Tarna disconnected, I did something I should have done cycles ago. I actually researched Earth, really researched it beyond the basic biological scans and diplomatic reports. What I found made my headtails curl. Earth was classified as a Class 7 Deathworld. Class 7. That put it in the same category as planets with acid rain, megafauna predators, and atmospheric toxins. Humans had evolved dodging creatures that could run 70 kilometers per hour, surviving temperature extremes that would kill most species, fighting off microscopic organisms that invaded their bodies constantly. They did not have natural armor because they invented clothing. They did not have venom because they invented weapons. They did not have redundant organs because they developed medicine. Humans were not weak. They were terrifying. They just did not look like it. I found records of human feats that seemed impossible. Marathon runners covering over 40 kilometers without stopping, climbers scaling mountains without oxygen assistance, swimmers crossing entire ocean channels, soldiers carrying wounded comrades for kilometers under combat conditions. And that was normal humans, not even exceptional ones. The species had turned survival itself into an art form, pushing their bodies beyond reasonable limits as a matter of routine. I walked back over to Marcus, who was now demonstrating proper lifting form to a fascinated group of Threx engineers. "Marcus," I said, interrupting the impromptu lesson, "I owe you an apology. I underestimated you badly." He looked up, surprised. "Hey, no worries. I get it. I do not exactly look impressive compared to most species out here. But that is kind of the point, right? Humans learned a long time ago that looks can be deceiving." 3 weeks later, another human transport arrived at Station Epsilon 9, bringing new exchange personnel. I was there at the docking bay personally, waiting to greet them. There were 5 humans this time, 2 engineers, a medical specialist, a cultural liaison, and a pilot named Ren. They looked just as unimpressive as Marcus had, all soft skin and minimal muscle mass. But I knew better now. I assigned them to critical roles immediately, ignoring the protests from other supervisors who thought I was crazy. Let them think what they wanted. I had learned my lesson about assumptions. As I watched Ren easily carry equipment that should have required anti-grav assistance, I shook my head in amused disbelief. Humans. The galaxy had no idea what it was in for. And honestly, I could not wait to watch everyone else figure it out the hard way, just like I had. Never judge a species by its gravity well. That was going to be my new motto.